I'm an idiot. You think I'm a damn fool. Any man who believe that never went to school.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey and from me. We are going to start off with something that is personal, and then we're going to plunge right into the really rather juicy and controversial stuff. Okay? But the first thing, and I'm editing this so that I only repeat part of it. Somebody called Aisha Waziri wrote in very graphic terms, but this is the only bit that I will be reading out. And I'm appealing to her to please get in touch with us through the castlegoring.com website. Okay, we will be very happy to be in touch. We have already left a message for you on the comment section to no avail. So we said at the end, and I will just read out the end bit so that hopefully this reaches you. If you would be so kind in your next video to send your well wishes to my mum, it would really light up her day and put a smile on her face. Kindest regards. I send those and more. So get in touch. Okay? You can do it through castlegoring.com. There are phone numbers and there are email addresses. It will reach me. Okay? Thank you. So now, if I may, we'll plunge into the nitty-gritty. Lynn Feldman says, I am a US attorney and I am heartbroken that MEGHAN won in her summary judgment case. Your thoughts. Your channel is the first I listen to each day. Is there no justice that will be reached against this vile person? Well, possibly the judgment will be reversed on appeal. You, as an attorney, will know that the law is a precise thing, and sometimes judges are focused on the precise element to the detriment of overall justice. And I would suggest that this is what has happened in this case. The court has taken too narrow a view of the circumstances, but you as a lawyer will know that the courts are always slightly in favour of a plaintiff given half an opportunity, because the presumption is that if somebody has made a claim, it is up to the defendant to prove that they are wrong. So there is a presumption of goodness, shall we say, where claimants are concerned. That has been a big problem in this case because the public have a far better idea of MEGHAN as a character than the judges have. I have made this point before, that the judges will simply look at the superficials. Those of us who have made more of a study of the situation will understand that MEGHAN is slipperier than an eel, double, triple and quadruple bluffing at all turns. But the courts I'm afraid they're not following the Meghan story to the extent that other people are. And they just get this plaintiff and they think, oh, well, she's a member of the royal family, she's the claimant, of course she must be speaking the truth. So that's where, shall we say, presumption of innocence and presumption of good intentions plays against the reality of this situation. There is no doubt now, and there should be no doubt where the judges are concerned, that that letter was written to her father for public consumption. But they have focused on the narrow claims that she has made, that it's private, that it wasn't meant to be public, that she expected that her father might leak the letter, and so she took precautions in case he leaked the letter. That's all very good and well if you're dealing with an ordinary, straightforward person. But if you're dealing with a manipulator on the scale of Meghan Markle, well, I'm afraid you have to have sufficient knowledge of what she has been up to in the past to see the slime that slug leaves as she goes from one rock to another. And I'm afraid the judges aren't looking. They're not looking. The letter, the judges have misdirected themselves. Evidently, the Mail on Sunday is going to be appealing. There might be a more gravitas given to the argument that this letter was never intended to be private, that this letter was, despite Meghan's claims to the contrary, intended to be public. Let us remember that Meghan is the one who leaked the contents of that letter first. Her father didn't. She leaked it to 5 friends who magically, all together, obviously without her knowledge, consent or approval, went and confided in People magazine so that all her supporters would know how she was suffering. Poor Meghan. The judges have not factored sufficiently that fact into the equation, nor have they sufficiently factored into the equation the fact that the letter was written as a lie to be believed as the truth. It claims in People magazine that it was a conciliatory letter. Meghan herself has admitted that she didn't expect her father to respond to the letter, that she knew that this was going to be a deal breaker between them, yet she said to the contrary. The judges need to take on board that that letter was leaked by Meghan to embarrass her father. And even though the Mail on Sunday did breach copyright and did go overboard, in this instance, they should be let off the hook, because it takes a particularly, and I'm going to use the word evil, sort of daughter to set her father up the way Meghan set up Thomas Markle. And when he didn't react to the provocation as she had hoped he would, by leaking the letter, she leaked it herself. The judges need to take this on board because they are obsessed with the fact that in the letter, Meghan says that her father might leak it. But she leaked it. They can't seem to have made the leap from the fact that she said her father might leak it to the fact that she leaked it. I mean, this is extraordinarily obtuse of them. And to cover for their obtuse lack of sight in this instance, they have then made the point that the Mail on Sunday could have addressed the issue using a few of the comments of the letter instead of half the contents of the letter. And this, of course, is where the difficulty comes in, because the Mail on Sunday have undoubtedly been naughty by over-egging the pudding. Now, I'm a public figure who is at the moment suing one of the newspapers and has sued all of the 5 major newspaper companies in this country successfully, I might add. I am the very first person who will agree with Meghan and Harry that the newspapers are often out of line. But there are laws already in place. And I'm awfully sorry. Even the Court of Appeal judgment alludes to the fact that they know that Meghan perjured herself. Look at their wording. I think they say something along the lines of her failure of memory at the very least, or words to that effect. So in other words, they're saying they know she lied. Why, if she lies to them in witness statements, do they think she wouldn't have lied in the letter itself, and that she would have continued lying? But the difficulty, as I say, is that the judges have to deal with the fact that associated newspapers over-egged the pudding. Now, in my view, the only correct way to advance this matter is for there to be an exhaustive hearing where both parties argue their case. And it is then up, after there has been proper public examination of all of the issues, to decide whether indeed the Mail on Sunday violated Meghan's privacy. There's no doubt they violated the copyright. Or whether Meghan violated her father's privacy and then her own. The Supreme Court might take a rather more focused and finessed view of things than the 3 judges in the Court of Appeal have taken. This is a hugely important case, and I actually do not condemn the Court of Appeal judges for erring on the side of caution, because if they open the floodgates too wide, the press will be over everybody more like a rash than they already are. So I get why they need to be cautious. I think in this instance they are wrong. However, whether the Supreme Court puts it right or not, Meghan has achieved nothing but a Pyrrhic victory. She has already been exposed as a liar, a cheat, a fraud, a perjurer, a wicked, wicked daughter, a nasty, devious, manipulative, sanctimonious hypocrite. No matter what she wins, she has already lost. She might have won the battle, but this, let's remember why she wrote that letter. She wrote that letter to destroy her father, to destroy his credibility, to ruin him in the eyes of the public. She hasn't ruined him in the eyes of the public. On the contrary, he has emerged as a very wronged, innocent party. She has ruined herself and her reputation. So no matter what happens, she's lost. And all her claims, hypocritical, sanctimonious claims that she's doing this for the greater good and to defend right, she's not. What she did with her father was evil. And I'm afraid, no matter what the outcome, that letter is the letter of an evil daughter, destructive, manipulative, calculating, right up there with Shakespeare's anti-heroines, Goneril and Regan. Mary Ann McNair says, Lady C, the court case outcome is outrageous. Why is this wretched creature allowed to get away with lying in a court of law? It does not sit right. Why do you think the court came to this conclusion? My dear, the court couldn't have cared less whether Meghan was lying or not. They knew she was lying. They made it absolutely clear in their judgment that they knew she was lying. The reality is, people lie all the time in court. I've tried to say this before, and I'm going to repeat it. The courts expect people to lie. The only time that they don't expect people to lie is when, on the rare occasions that they get somebody who is honest and straightforward. Most people who go before a court lie through their back teeth, whether it is in civil actions or criminal actions. Sorry, in fact, it's almost to be expected that everybody in a criminal action is going to lie. God forbid that anybody should ever admit to having committed a crime. And in civil actions, people are busy embroidering the facts to such an extent that they really are perjurers. This is what the courts expect. They're not making an example on a basis of the fact that Meghan is a royal. I'll tell you better. Had it been Princess Anne or Princess Michael, they might well have come down like clodhoppers and condemned her mendacity. But they haven't. Why? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the darkest of us all? That's the reason why. She's played the race card and she's enjoying the benefits of having played the race card. There's no way that woman of colour, Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, is ever going to be called out because of the colour of her skin. This is my considered opinion. I could be wrong, but I know I'm not. I think it's as simple as that. You know, think of the people who have been done for perjury recently. There was Constance Briscoe, who was a black judge who clearly perjured herself, and to such an extent that she had to be charged. There was a Vicky Price, the economist, and her ex-husband Chris Huhne, an MP, who lied about points on their driver's license and both went to prison. Constance Briscoe is a woman of colour, but she's also a judge. And even the judiciary couldn't absolve her. But the others, there are others. Jeffrey Archer perjured himself, got a whole load of money off, I think, if I remember correct, it was the News of the World. Turned out years later that he'd lied, he went to prison. Jonathan Aitken, same thing. What do we have? A well-known economist, a judge, 2 MPs and a peer of the realm, multimillionaire peer of the realm. You begin to get a thread here that maybe you have to be above a certain level in society to actually be made an example of, failing which they just let you off the hook. Unless, of course, you are the only woman of colour acknowledged in the royal family, in which case no matter how much you lie, how much you deceive, how much you con, how many false witness statements you attest to, nothing happens. It's hinted at that you were a liar and a perjurer, but nothing's done, and nothing is going to be done. Jean Ketterer says, looks like Meghan Markle won that court case, and she'll be insufferable now. What next? Can the newspaper appeal? It can, and evidently it is going to do so. This is not over. And even if it is over, Meghan has lost. No matter how she spins the fact that she has won the case, she has lost in terms of PR, as I have said before. And finally, SA says, Lady C, I've just heard that Meghan has just won her court case. Question, how do you see this playing out? As I feel there will be lots of questions asked as to why Meghan Markle can get away with perjury. Her recollections vary. Plus emails and texts that show how manipulative she has been, whilst ordinary citizens, I'm sure, would not have got away with this. Well, I think, my dear, I've already covered that. Ordinary citizens would have got away with it. The prisons would be absolutely full. Nowadays, it's not like it used to be in the olden days when people had a reverence for truth, decency, and the law. Nowadays, people have reverence for the Kardashians and others of their ilk. And on that note, I will not mention the word Markle. Question 2. Do you think this will result in any repercussions for our legal system? As I think most ordinary people will think this result really stinks to high heaven. Thank you, Lady C. You are a true lady where others only play at it. Thank you very much. I think it will have repercussions. Either way, I think if the Mail on Sunday succeed in the Supreme Court, it will have repercussions. This is a very important case, and what makes it important is that the Court of Appeal and the courts generally have been trying to bring in, for some years now, it's got to be said, privacy laws through the back door, because Parliament refuses to bring them in through the front door, because Parliament, quite right too, feels that there are enough safeguards in place and that bringing in additional privacy laws will simply protect what used to be called the great and the good, but really is the grand and the insufferable, from the consequences of their actions. Now, I'm a public figure. I've had much of my life turned upside down and some of it seriously damaged by the newspapers. So I think you can take it as read that I do not approve of any of the atrocities that the gutter press will and often do commit in this country. Nevertheless, the price you pay for privilege is a degree of pain, discomfort. I am afraid that we have threats to our civil liberties and freedom of speech when we have privacy laws that protect the great and the grand from the consequences of their actions and from the deserved consequences of their actions. Now, this case is highly unusual because I can't think of another case where a vicious, nasty daughter set about destroying her father's reputation so that she would come out flourishing and looking good after she had betrayed her father, after she had refused to even inquire as to her father's welfare, after he had a heart attack, in my view, brought on by the extraordinary pressure to which he was subjected, gratis, her and her husband-to-be's refusal to protect him against the press, the very press that she's now trying to get protection against. No matter what happens in this case, it is going to be extremely important, because if you delineate privacy to the extent that the various judges for the last decade and a half have been trying to do, you are endangering freedom of speech. You are also giving con artists a charter to con the public, and they can then hide behind privacy laws, as indeed is what Meghan sought to do. Thank God that Jason Knopf's statement was finally too late, very belatedly, and most likely too late, entered into the record. So now we know what a totally calculating, manipulative, perjurer and liar Meghan Markle is. And if she thinks I'm being unfair, sue me. Sue me. Sue me. Because it's all there in black and white. Everything I have said is true and fair. And if you don't like it, sue me. I'll see you in court. Ilona Corbett says, Lady C, you mentioned some time ago that you're suing the Mirror. Many of us offer to help you fund the action. We care about you. Thank you very much. That's very sweet of you. Do you have an update on what's happening? Will you soon be in court or have they settled? Very timely question. And somebody else asked a similar question the other day as well. And somebody else asked it quite recently as well. So I've been getting trickles of inquiries, let's put it that way, about it. It is over 2 years. Yesterday, the Mirror failed to abide by yet another deadline. 2 years later, 2 court hearings later, having been ordered by the court to come up with a proper defence, they still haven't submitted one. It is my considered view that they are going to stall and continue stalling in the hope that if they can succeed in stalling us long enough, they will wait and see whether Prince Andrew's application in the New York courts to have Virginia Giuffre's action struck out works or not. Because make no mistake about this, we are dealing with a very political people. We are dealing with very malicious political people. It's not only Meghan Markle and Virginia Giuffre and all of that flotsam and jetsam. It's people like Alison Phillips, who is the editor of The Mirror, and Darren Lewis, who is the author of the article which was a tissue of perverse and perverted lies about me. 2 years later, they're still trying to come up with a defence and haven't been able to. Also, I have reason to believe that they have been employing people to abuse and harass me. I have had cause in the last 48 hours to be in touch with the police. My lawyers have an extensive account of the abuses to which I have been subjected as a result of the Mirror. And I believe their agents. I don't for a second think that any of this is accidental or coincidental. I'm not going to say what has been happening with me, because I'm not prepared to violate certain protocols. But believe me, they are the lowest of the low. They would make Jeffrey Epstein seem fine and upstanding. And as we all know, he was the lowest of the low, just not quite as low as Alison Phillips and Darren Lewis, in my view. And if they think that I've been unfair and I'm defaming them, sue me! Sue me! I have chapter and verse on you creeps. They give the word perverse and perverted an entirely new dimension. We are dealing with class prejudiced people of the lowest order who have no scruples, no honour, no decency, no sense of right or wrong, who think that if somebody is on another level to them in terms of socio-economic groups, that they can be as vicious, abusive, nasty, and tell as many lies as possible and do as much as possible to try to destroy that person's life. If I did to somebody who was of a different social class and background to me what they have done to me, I would quite rightly be condemned roundly. Yet they're proud of it. They're not only proud of it, they would like to find a way of getting it into court so that they can take their hatred, their filth, their nastiness, and their perverted perversions, because they are perverts. Let's make no mistake about it. Look up the meaning of the word pervert. They are perverts. They are corrupt, and they are decadent, and they are indecent. They are the lowest form of pond life. They still haven't, to answer the question and wrap it up, come up with a defense. It still continues. We have plans and we will be executing them. I'm not going to say any more. I don't believe in giving my adversaries any hint of what is going to come. Having said all of that, I have already communicated with Alison Phillips what I know to be the case and what I have been told and what I believe was the case. And she can be in no doubt that I would sooner suck Hitler's bones than spit near her. I hope that's sufficiently graphic for you to understand how completely I despise and deplore that creature. And I'll tell you better, what I would like all of you who would like to be supportive of me in this matter, what I'd like you to do is buy some shares in Reach PLC. You don't have to buy many, maybe 50 or £100 worth of shares. That gives you as a shareholder various rights. And when this is resolved one way or the other, I would then invite you to join me as shareholders in getting her removed from her position as editor of the Mirror, and I gather she's in charge of the whole of Reach PLC, and Darren Lewis as well. Neither of them is fit to write upon the lavatory paper that you will use tomorrow morning. Neither of them is fit for even that. They are the lowest of the low. They are beyond filth and scum. And I am outraged that this has gone on for over 2 years. They have been ordered by the court and they refuse to abide by the court orders. Who do they think they are? Who do they think they are? Darlene Chandler says, I keep wondering what Harry would have turned out like if he had married one of his other girlfriends. Would he have shown the same troubling traits or had a normal life contributing to the royal family? I know the answer to that question. Harry would have remained within the royal fold. He'd have remained slightly troublesome and somewhat troubled, but he would have been ever increasingly helped, and to the extent that he could be, have his problems resolved in as positive and life-enhancing a way as possible. He had the protection of the royal fold, as indeed did Meghan. Let's remember that. He has gone from the second most popular member of the royal family to the second least popular member of the royal family. Harry would not have done any of what he's doing now had he married any of the suitable girls that he should have married, instead of marrying that creature who has turned out to be a study in unsuitability. Shadow Roger says, there can be many people like Meghan with evil ideas, but it only takes one inside traitor like Harry to destroy even a kingdom, let alone a family. Shadow Roger, very well said. History is littered with examples of people who betrayed their cause with catastrophic consequences. Small example, the traitor at Carthage who showed the way in to this city via the water supply. I wonder how many pieces of silver he got. And yes, a lot of what has happened could not have happened without Harry's collusion and connivance. People are hopeful that he will, those lights, the 3 or 4 that pass for brains up here, will turn on and are turning on. Although I suspect that he's going to be love-bombed in the most wonderful way for the next few weeks, at least, to sort of get over the hump of the fact that they've been having marital troubles. And of course, they now have a victory to celebrate. So I think it's going to be a long and arduous road before Harry comes to his Damascene moment. But he evidently is getting there, and the fact of the matter is, had he not colluded with Meghan's lies, and he did collude with them, because Harry stood by at that Oprah interview and allowed Meghan to lie and didn't pick her up on it. Nor did Oprah. Interesting. The Curious Corgi says, hi Lady C, please don't forget to include in your next video the tidbit of information that was whispered in your ear about the investigation. You stated around the 26-minute mark that you had new information, but it was related to another question that you would get to. I listened twice, on tender hooks, mind you, sorry, to make sure I didn't miss it. Now anxiously awaiting your next video, y'all. Sorry, my dear. Sorry. I think I ran out of time and I completely forgot. The tidbit was that Meghan is already aware of the fact that there will be findings against her in the bullying investigation. She's aware of that fact already and has been for a little while. Poor Meghan. Can you imagine? They thought she was a bully just because she's slap him once, slap him twice, slap him again, and just grind him into the dust, because that's where people like you deserve to go. God, I'm so hot and potent and fabulous, and I'm just such a wonderful person. And look at me, Rachel Zane. Slap him once, slap him twice, slap him again. God, I just love my power. Alison Ford says, Lady C, in your opinion, was it a breach of ethics for the lawyer of H's wife to discuss the bullying case on national television while it is an ongoing investigation? It makes me think she doth protest too much. The lawyer is going to end up with egg on her face and lots of money in the bank, darling. Most lawyers don't care about egg on their face. They only care about money in the bank. There's a reason why even God in Genesis warned people against lawyers. In reference, it has to be said, to widows and children. But it applies across the board. Even in Genesis. I mean, that should tell you something. The lawyer is going to end up with egg on her face and everywhere else by representing this proven liar. Proven liars need legal representation as well. Lawyers wouldn't make the money they do, and the courts wouldn't be as full as they are if you didn't have proven liars using the system, hopefully to their advantage as far as they're concerned. Valentine Lowe apparently contacted the wife's lawyers before publishing the bullying story. So it is hardly a smear campaign if they did not prevent publication or sue. My guess is Valentine Lowe has substantial, irrefutable evidence from those victims, and we are simply being gaslighted by the lawyers too now. Thank you for another excellent video. Alison Ford, you're my girl. Yes, we are being gaslighted by Jenny Affia. Jenny Affia knows that Meghan is not going to be absolved, and Meghan is not going to be emerging as this sweet and soft and delicate little flower who treated staff at all times so considerately. But that Meghan is, as Jason Knopf said, somebody who targets individuals and grinds them into the dust until they are so completely shattered by the experience that they leave. I don't know about in America, but in England it's called constructive dismissal. Jenny Affia was very careful, I hasten to add to say, and I quote her, the overall allegation was that the Duchess of Sussex is guilty of bullying. Absolutely not. The first thing is to be really clear about what bullying is. Now, here we come. Wait for it. Jenny Affia, she's so clever. No, she's saying, oh, the pig wasn't pork. The pork wasn't a pig. The pig was made of china, except it went doesn't make sense. But anyway, let's get there. The first thing is to be really clear about what bullying is. What bullying actually means is improperly using power deliberately and repeatedly to hurt someone physically or emotionally. The Duchess of Sussex has absolutely denied ever doing that. That said, she wouldn't want to negate anyone's personal experiences. Well, you talk about speaking out of both sides of your mouth at the same time. I mean, Jenny Afia is just beyond belief. First of all, it's wildly inappropriate for her to have been making the comments that she did on national television about an ongoing investigation. But she's a propagandist. She's paid to propagate the propaganda that Sunshine Sachs, Harry and Meghan are always spouting, and she spouted it. Oh, is she Jenny Afia or was she Jenny Goebbels at some point? And now she's Jenny Afia. Just asking, because she seems to be very good at propaganda. And rather like Herr Goebbels, she seems to be able to speak out of both sides of her mouth at the same time and actually contradict herself, but with such alacrity that you actually, unless you're very astute, don't realize that she has contradicted herself. Because what's this hypocritical nonsense about? She wouldn't want to negate anyone's personal experience. Jenny Afia was there negating her accuser's personal experiences and their professional experiences. You see? The tangled web we weave when we set out to deceive. Because Jenny Afia set out to deceive us. She set out to pretend that Meghan doesn't want to negate anybody's personal experiences. Of course she does. She wants to deny everything that anybody accused her of. Doesn't make sense. Let's wait for the outcome. A liberal who hates censorship says, Lady C, what do you make of Amal Rajan's grovelling apology following his vitriolic and classist comments about the royal family? Are you convinced of his sincerity? I am not. Do you think he should be given a second chance, or should he be cancelled the way he wants the royal family cancelled? Amal Rajan is a total opportunist. He is a left-winger supporter of the Labour Party who, when it was in his professional interest, headed up a newspaper that preached for the Tories. Interesting that the Amal Rajans of this world would condemn 40-year-olds who at 14 years old said something untoward, but they are to be absolved and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean it. He meant it. He meant it. I don't for a second think his apology is sincere. I think he is every bit the dyed-in-the-wool Republican, nasty piece of work that he is. Let us take what he said and see in terms of emotional content whether it was not vitriolic and needlessly harsh and completely unfair. He called Prince Philip a racist buffoon. On what basis? Prince Philip had friends and staff and relations of colour. How was he a racist buffoon? Who is the racist buffoon? Who is the buffoon? When an Amal Rajan from the Olympian heights that he occupies as a man of colour and influence accuses a white man of being a racist buffoon for no valid reason. Who is the racist and who is the buffoon? I'm heartily sick and tired of people, whether they are black, white or brown, or any other colour that you can think of, playing the race card to the detriment and divisions of society. I am heartily sick of them. These are nasty, low, exploitative people who are using anything negative to get their profile up and get themselves in positions of power, as Amal Rajan has very successfully done. You remind me of Princess Stephanie von Hohenlohe. Look her up. She's the Jewess who managed to get Aryan status. Just look her up. Talk about hypocrites. Amal Rajan has said, in reference to very reasonable questions about some foolish commentary from a former life. Excuse me, it's not a former life. You're living one life. I want to say I deeply regret it. I'm sure you do. Nobody likes being caught out with his trousers down, especially when he's found to be wildly insufficient. I wrote things that were rude and immature. No, they were more than that. They were vicious and nasty. And I look back on them now with real embarrassment. I'm sure you do, but only because you've been found out. And ask myself what I was thinking frankly. You were thinking what you truly believed and you articulated it. Why do you need me or anybody else to point out to you that this is all a load of flannel and what you were saying then was what you really felt? I would like to say sorry for any offence they caused now or then. Ah, really? My dear, I just love it when people apologise and really don't clearly mean it. Hypocrites, hypocrites, hypocrites. I am now completely committed to impartiality. That's why you did the programme you did, which was a study in anti-monarchist hypocrisy. I'm now completely committed to impartiality, fingers crossed, and hope our recent programmes can be judged on their merits. They're being judged on them. They're being judged on them. That's why you're found insufficient as well. Trousers down or trousers up. You are lacking. I have to say, it's good that we can live in a country where such inappropriate things can still take place, where we can have a rabidly nasty, classist, racist, anti-monarchist pretending to be impartial now that it suits him as he heads up the media section of the national broadcaster. Long may this last, of course, if the Amal Rajans of this world have their way. We'll all be shut down, and then they will be cramming their crock down our throats. But as long as we have a free society, it is still a testament to that freedom that we can have this arch hypocrite, this chippy oik, and he is a chippy oik. He's obviously very bright and very clever, but just look at the attitude. Chippy, chippy, chippy. And yes, he is an oik. Look up what oik means. It means somebody, and it's nothing to do with class. It means somebody who is ill-mannered and has no proper compass for civilized conduct. I'm being very gracious about my definition of oik. It's a 3-letter word best summed up by saying oik, but he's an oik. And of course, he knows the requisite thing when you've been found to be insufficient is throw up your hands and say, I was found to be wanting. I didn't really mean it. However, if anybody else had done that, he'd be baying for their blood, and so would everybody else at the BBC. You know, there's an awful lot of cleaning up that needs to be done in society at all times. We just have to deal with the messes that need to be cleaned up in our society at this time. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and keep the questions coming. Thank you so much. God bless and bye-bye.